Hi, it's Brenda, and I found some clouds. Yay! So I thought today I would talk about cat ear in front of the camera, about the boy and why he is called the boy, other than the fact that he is not a girl. Welcome to my channel, My New Me, where you get to watch as I try to make sense out of the chaos that has become my life and my home. How lucky are you? Once upon a time, many, many decades ago, an older man stood at his bedroom window and watched the scene playing out in the yard below him. It had been a cold, rainy day, much colder than normal for the month of May, and the house was closed up, every window shut, just to keep the damp chill out of the rooms. He was seriously contemplating a nap. However, the bedroom was now a little warm and stuffy. It was late afternoon on this chilly Sunday, and the wife had cooked her typical huge after-church meal. And, as usual, all of their adult children who still lived in town had come for dinner. The cooking of the meal and the subsequent cleanup had made the upstairs bedroom a little bit warm and stuffy. Moving to crack his bedroom window a bit to get some fresh air, the older gentleman was distracted by the argument happening in his backyard. There, at the base of the stairs which led up to the small apartment over his garage, stood one of his sons with his bride of 1 year. They were arguing, an argument which apparently had halted their climb up the stairs to the small apartment where they currently lived. Without a moment's hesitation or an ounce of shame, he decided to eavesdrop on this young couple's argument and fully opened the window, leaning out, hands resting on the windowsill. "I'm not going," his son's young wife insisted. "I'll be fine after I lay down for a while. I don't want to waste everyone's time." His son disagreed with his bride, trying to guide her towards the car. "It can't hurt to get checked and find out for sure," the young man insisted, gently tugging on his wife's hand. Snatching her hand back from him, she turned her extremely pregnant belly towards the stairs and put one foot on the bottom step. "I'm not going," she said. "It's not time. I'm not ready." The young man argued back. "It can't hurt to get checked. Let's just go." The older man, hanging out of the window above them, decided he'd heard enough. And as parents and parent-in-laws are wont to do, he put his 2 cents worth into the argument. "Quit your squabbling and get her to the hospital," he yelled down to the young couple. "I'm trying," his son declared in exasperation. "I might not be in labor yet. I don't think—" "Get going!" He cut off his daughter-in-law's protest. Grasping the bottom of the window to close it, he added a parting shot. "I'm going to tell both your mothers what's happening." He then made his way downstairs to inform his wife of the possible upcoming new grandchild, and then to place a phone call to his daughter-in-law's mother, intending to share the same glad tidings with her. By the time he made it downstairs and to the back door, he was very relieved to see his son's car backing out of the driveway, with his daughter-in-law and her very pregnant belly sitting in the passenger seat beside his son. "Well," he said to his wife, turning from the door, "looks like I'm not getting a nap today." And thus began the birth of this young couple's greatest joy in life to date. The young couple welcomed into the world and into their lives the ugliest baby girl you have ever seen. However, this ugly little baby soon grew into the cutest and most perfect baby and child anyone could ever hope for. Now, this young couple did try several times to make a more perfect baby. However, after 3 attempts, which did produce cute babies, but also which failed miserably in the perfection area, they finally had to admit that nothing could outdo the perfection of their first child. And if my siblings ever hear this, they are going to yell at me. So yes, that was my birth that I was talking about. And don't tell my siblings. I may have taken some liberty with the actual wording of the conversations, but I think I'm close. I've heard this story many, many times over the years of my life, how my mother did not want to go to the hospital yet. My father was trying to drag her to the car, and my grandfather yelled from the upstairs window to get to the hospital, and even used the mom card on them. Now, my father loved kids. He loved having kids. He loved raising kids. He loved being a big part of our lives. If we were involved in something, he was involved in it. All the way down the line, 100%. I consider myself very, very lucky to have had such a father. I'll fast forward 2.5 decades, and that icon of perfection, his first child, gave him some wonderful news. She and her husband were going to give him his very first grandchild. And his response at the time was, "It's about time. Thought I was going to have to start drawing you pictures." And that was my dad. Well, his first response may have been a bit gruff and humorous. He was very proud of the fact that he was going to become a grandpa. My first ultrasound was I was about 3 months pregnant when I had my first ultrasound, and I gave him the picture of it. He carried that ultrasound around town with him. Everyone he ran into, he would say, "Do you want to see a picture of my grandchild?" And of course, the response that he would receive would be, "She had the baby already? I thought she just got pregnant." And he would whip out that picture of the ultrasound and show everyone. And it actually was a pretty good picture. I wish we still had it. But it showed Josh on his back, and it looked like he was sucking his thumb. You could see the nose, you could see the hand, you could see everything. So my dad showed that picture all around town when I was 3 months pregnant. I was about 5 months pregnant. He was in a store and found a tiny little jean jacket that he bought for the baby. That was the first item of clothing that my child had. Didn't know what the sex was. Weren't even sure of the due date yet. But the baby had a jean jacket to wear. And then came the birth. And he learned that he had a grandson, not instead of a grandchild. And Josh instantly became my boy to Dad. He would, "How's my boy doing today? Where's my boy?" My dad was a mason, and he worked all over town, all over everywhere. It did not matter where I was. It did not matter where he was working. He was always in the neighborhood several times throughout the day and would have to stop in to see his boy. So I remember one time someone said, "He does have a name. His name isn't Boy." And Dad would say, "Doesn't matter. He's the only boy that matters. He's my boy. He's the only boy that counts." And so he became my boy. I would walk in their door carrying the baby in my diaper bag, and it would either be Mom coming up and, "Here's my little Joshy," or Dad coming up, "There's my boy," take the baby out of my arms, and they would go off into the living room. And I would be standing in the door saying, "Hi, I'm here too. Remember me?" But I didn't matter anymore either. It was the boy. But over the years, it went from my boy to the boy. My dad called Josh the boy all the time. Many, many phone calls over the years. "Where's the boy? What's the boy doing?" Or there would be, he would walk in the front door or back door. My parents always had keys to my house. I had keys to theirs. We basically had open homes to each other. But he'd walk in one door or the other and say, "Where's the boy? We're going for ice cream. Does he want to go?" "What's the boy doing? I got to go here and do this. Does he want to go?" It was always the boy. And it was a nickname that Josh became proud of. Just as my dad was a big part of our lives while growing up, and even into adulthood, Dad became a big part of my son's life. And my son was in football, Dad was there. Every practice, every game. He was in wrestling, every practice, every game, every match, every tournament. We spent many, many Saturdays, all day Saturday, at wrestling tournaments, in the bleachers. When it would be the boy's turn to wrestle, my dad would be right down there beside the mat, coaching him and helping him out. Now, he was the first grandchild for 7 years. And then the second grandchild, they lived out of state, so he wasn't able to see them as often. But the boy became the boy, and he was proud of being the boy. So the name isn't derogatory. It's not belittling. It's not demeaning. He was the boy. He was the one that mattered the most to Dad. And he was his boy. So that's why I call him the boy in my videos. It's as common and slips out of my mouth as easily as Josh does, or my son. The boy is just his name, part of his name. I remember came home from work one day, and my dad and the boy were sitting in the living room, my living room, eating chips and watching TV. And Dad said, "Well, the boy got me pulled over by the cops today." I said, "What?" So Dad, usually, my son was within walking distance to school. He was probably 12 or 13 years old. And my dad would normally make sure that he was at a break in his work where he could go and pick Josh up from school and give him a ride home. And of course, they would normally go to the donut shop and have a donut and coffee. I think Josh would have hot cocoa or soda after school. Then Dad would drop him off at home and go back to work. Well, this was a cold, rainy winter day. Josh was walking across, there's a huge field between the school and the road where Dad would pick him up. He's walking across that just in time to see Dad pulling away. I guess Josh was late getting out of school and not out there at the same time. So Dad thought maybe Dad was late and Josh had already walked past the high school. So Dad pulled up and went around the corner, and Josh is running across the field, yelling, waving his arms. And the chief of police, who was, we'd known for years. He, actually when I was 13 years old, he let me drive. And I was 13 and he was 16 years old. He let me drive his car. He was the first person to teach me how to drive a car. So he was a family friend. He saw Josh running and waving his arms, and Josh got up to the road panting, and the police officer asked Josh, "You trying to get your grandpa?" And Josh said, "Yeah, I don't think he saw me." And so he said, "Wait right here, I'll go get him." So he pulled out, went around the corner, saw Dad down the road, and turned his lights and siren on and pulled Dad over. So Dad's like, "Oh, now what? What's wrong?" You know, thinking he had a tail light out or something was going on. And the police car pulled up beside Dad's truck and rolled the window down, and the chief of police said, "Your grandson was running after you, trying to catch you. You need to go back and get him." So, of course, Dad had to tell on Josh that the boy got him pulled over by the cops. But that was just one of the many stories. Josh was always proud of the fact that Dad called him the boy. He was a big part of his life. From when he was 1.5 years old, his father, Joshua's father, has never been a part of his life. And my dad did a lot in filling that role for him. And I'm proud of the type of dad proud of the type of man my dad was, the type of dad he was to me, the type of grandfather he was to my son. But that's a little bit of the history, a bit of why he is called the boy. That, and in my beginning videos, he did not want to be in them, and he did not want his name used in them. And the boy was just a really good name to use. It is not demeaning, it is not disrespectful, it is not belittling. It's a title that he holds with pride, and something that came from my dad's heart, and something that to this day still touches the boy's heart. My dad has been gone for 5 years now, but Josh still considers himself Gumpa's boy. So that is why the boy. That, and the fact that he really isn't a girl. He is a boy. No, but he went from my grandchild to my boy to the boy. And that's what he stayed his whole life. Oh, and those are just some of my memories. And some of a little bit of my history. A lot of it of the boy's history. And I guess kind of a tribute to the type of man my father was. Thanks for listening and for watching the clouds with us. And watching Addie's pet fly and Addie's ear and nose. Thank you. Take care and toodles.